Michael, you're in the media room in Cleveland. Any reaction from the media or anyone else there to what was a historically disastrous debate?
Yeah, Cenk, it's funny. I was in Cleveland in 2015 for the very first Republican debate of the 2016 cycle, and it was the first time that we'd seen Donald Trump as a candidate. It was a time where you'll recall when Megyn Kelly was moderating the debate, and you could really feel what was going on in the room. People were shocked, and some people were laughing. And I looked around. It's sort of on record how I felt about Donald Trump for many years, but I looked around and I couldn't believe that people were laughing at him. Tonight, it was just quiet. It was stoic in here. People couldn't believe what was going on, and the way that Chris Wallace tried to corral the president, and the president wouldn't heed any of those warnings. And I think that there was a lot that was discomforting. I mean, you heard one candidate tell another candidate to shut up because that candidate wasn't allowing him to speak. This was a very, very strange room tonight, and it was a very strange place to be.
Yes, it's kind of it feels. I talked to you earlier, Michael. I see you now. You got to, of course, wear the mask because you're indoors and there's many other people there. And there's like this eerie kind of silence over there. That's the sense and the vibe that I get from what's happening, because it's almost as if the country is on bated breath. Like, is this really gonna work? Like, are we missing something? Right. Because Michael, our whole lives covering politics, we have heard that being rude in a debate is a bad idea. And particularly people will say, consultants, pundits, etc., will say, you will lose female voters if you're too rude in a debate. Well, my God, if he's got to shatter the record on losing female voters after this debate, if that's anywhere near true. And I almost feel like the whole country is taking a breath, like, what's gonna happen? Right? Almost waiting for the polls on this debate to see the reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think in what worked in that we didn't think would work in 2016, there is a sense again now that act has worn old and that people have seen. And I think the 2018 midterm elections are the greatest indicator of that. The voters that were Trump voters who then went back to the Democrats in the midterm elections were going back for that very reason, and it was laid bare tonight by Donald Trump. Now, we should also say that appeals to some people. Some people look at the bully and say he's being forceful. Some people say that he came at Biden with some facts and put Biden in his place and made Biden seem otherworldly to those who voted for Donald Trump. But I didn't see the debate that way at all. I thought that Biden seemed much more prepared than the president on facts, on issues, on being able to debate, and the points that the president scored were on the vice president's son, which didn't seem to me as something that voters, especially undecided voters, are looking at.
In my opinion, this debate was largely a tie because it was a train wreck. It's the biggest train wreck debate I have ever seen in my life. And tie goes to the person who's leading. And right now, Joe Biden is leading significantly. So now let's talk about who had upsides and downsides. So obviously the biggest downside for Donald Trump was he seemed incredibly rude, total bully, bull in a china shop, etc. Now, but there is a big question as to whether the American people will see that and think, well, he was strong and Biden was weak, or if they'll look at that and go, I can't stand that guy. Now, look, the folks who are Democrats and can't stand Trump already, their answer is obvious. The MAGA guys, their answer is obvious. But the critical middle, I don't know how they're gonna react to it. But I can't imagine that any reasonable person looks at that and thought, oh, Trump was a guy who is, civil, and not that civility is the number one trait and we certainly don't think that. But is a decent human being who was having an exchange of ideas, had the facts at his disposal, and won the debate. On the other hand, Joe Biden in the beginning, I'll be honest, seemed shell-shocked. When Trump came out guns blazing, interrupting everything he was saying, he couldn't get in a word in edgewise. He looked nervous. Now, the rest of the debate, Biden started picking up steam. He told Trump to shut up when he got his legs under him and stop your yapping. And it was a little bit of a cathartic moment for at least half the country when he said that. But to me, the biggest part of this debate and why I think at the end of the day, Trump will not have gained anything from this debate, which is very problematic for him as he's losing very badly, including in the swing states. We'll tell you about the polling a little bit later in this show. But the biggest moment was when Chris Wallace did a softball, and he was right to do it because it was a question that Trump has not answered easily in the past. He said, "Do you denounce white supremacists?" Easiest question I've ever seen in a debate. And Trump would not say yes. He would not say yes. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So because and when asked, he said, "Okay, give me specifics." Like, in other words, what kind of white supremacists are we talking about? By definition, here, if you ask me, hey, will you denounce white supremacists? Yes, I denounce all of them. Easiest thing. For him, he's like, well, it depends. Are we talking about the Klan? Are we talking about Nazis? Who are we talking about, right? And so then when Chris Wallace mentioned Proud Boys as an example of folks who are overzealous vigilantes, and he didn't frame it that way exactly, but he mentioned, he's like, if you want a group, okay, fine, I'll give you one group that's not necessarily in the category of white supremacists, but that is in the category of taking some physical action at these protests, rallies, riots, whatever you want to call them, right? And for Proud Boys, he said, Trump said, I want them to stand by. Oh my God. So he's telling these guys who are on tape physically attacking peaceful protesters, stand by, which obviously means if I want vigilante violence, I'll ask for it. And at the very end of the debate, what again, a super simple question that he's now been asked 5 times, will you accept the results of the election? And Trump would not give a clean yes. Biden gave a clean yes, and Trump wouldn't. Look, if that doesn't move Americans, then apparently America was never what I thought it was. That's my take. Anna, I want to go to you next.
Yeah, America was never what you thought it was. I think that Trump's presidency has revealed what America really is, how incredibly weak our democracy is, how all it takes is a strong man like Donald Trump to call the shots, to ignore the law, to not ever apologize for anything. This debate was a complete and utter disaster. Look, I think Biden did okay. There were a few moments where he threw a few jabs that I absolutely loved. But with the exception of those few jabs, there were some moments that were pretty devastating, in my opinion. Trump hits below the belt. He doesn't have any concern about civility or appearing presidential. At one point, Biden mentioned that he wasn't being presidential. Yeah, you should expect him to not be presidential. And Trump, of all presidents in this country, is the most target-rich environment of all time. And so go for it, go for it. When he started talking about his son and how his son served in the military, I got really excited because you can tell that like he woke up a little bit and had like this passion and this like fury that really needed to come out more during the debate. For instance, at one point early in the debate, Trump mentioned in regard to lowering the price of prescription drugs, you could have done it in your 47 years in office, but you didn't. Lines like that are gonna stay with people, right? So Biden needs to expect that, and he needs to immediately pivot to more than 200,000 Americans are dead because of the fact that you're a buffoon, you're incompetent, you only care about yourself, you're a narcissistic prick. Maybe don't use that language, but you get what I'm saying, right? But Biden came at it from like this incredibly like 1990s stylistic approach, and you can't do that. Like you're dealing with Trump. Obviously be professional, but be strong. And I feel like that was lacking a little bit. That's not to take away from the fact that Donald Trump is a complete and utter disaster. I'm just saying that I want to see more strength from Biden.
So, Michael, I want to go to you next. Were you worried about Biden in terms of how strong he looked or didn't look? Because in the beginning of the debate, the sense I got from social media and everything else that I was seeing, and honestly, my own sense was, like it looks like he's getting steamrolled. What was your take on it?
I never felt that throughout the debate. Going into the debate, I watched a lot of Joe Biden's old debates, both for the Senate when he ran for president the second time, and then again when he was vice president. So I watched, I would say, 7 of Joe Biden's debates, not in their entirety. But what you learn when you watch a number of those debates is that Joe Biden's not a good debater, but he's not a bad debater. And I think we saw that in the Democratic primaries as well, where you come away and you say, oh, Joe Biden didn't do enough, but he stood there and he took it, and et cetera. I think that, going to what you said, Cenk, if the tie goes to the runner, if the tie in a debate goes to the person who's ahead in the polls, that's what you got out of Biden today. Because going into this debate, before we knew what a mess it was going to be, one of the things was, how is Joe Biden going to do? Is he going to stand up to it? Is he going to have facts? Is he going to seem prepared? Is he going to seem cogent? Even though there's never been a time where he's ever seemed in the earliest of his career perfectly cogent or off the rails non-cogent. I think that's what you got from Joe Biden tonight, and I think that was probably enough. And I think seeing him fight back against a president who did seem off the rails, who's, in my opinion, whose act has gotten old to enough voters now. I don't think that he was able to swing anybody back, Donald Trump, tonight. I don't think he was able to bring anybody home on this. I think that his base probably loved every second of it, but I don't see an undecided voter out there who said, after seeing this tonight, oh, you know what, I'm gonna come back to Donald Trump now.
Okay, so look, I also want to make an important distinction for the audience. There's a difference between us evaluating how they did as a performance to win over voters or not, and that's important politics. Then there's a second thing, which is policy, and who was right and who was wrong and who's telling the truth or not. So later in the program, I'm going to tell you just a couple of things that Trump got right, but everything else ranged from little lies to gargantuan lies. Like 30 to 40% of mail-in votes are fraudulent already. What? That is preposterous. It's not within the universe of truth. And so if you're looking at it from the substance point of view, that is super clear. And I'd be shocked if we didn't all agree. No, of course, Biden largely telling the truth, and that one's not close. That's absolutely clear. And then, and by the way, if you miss any portion of this coverage, if you're a member, you can get all of our coverage, tyt.com/join. And if you're watching on YouTube, you hit the join button below. Speaking of which, I want to let 2 of our members weigh in here. J.M. Frazier said, "What a dumpster fire this was. Trump is like a child." And August probably described it perfectly, saying, "My post-debate thoughts." So that is, I think that's what a lot of America was thinking. And then, and now I want to go to John and get your thoughts on what you thought happened.
I think this is probably what it feels like in some way in any, great power that falls. I mean, people were tweeting that this is what it must have felt like in the last years of the Soviet Union. Like, this is a demonstration, if we need another one, of the fact that America is fundamentally a broken democracy. It's a failed state. It's a democracy in some ways, kind of, but it has failed. And Trump, like I've watched the people sort of battle back and forth over the past few years over whether Trump is the problem or just a symptom of the problems. And I've always thought that both those people are wrong. He's clearly both. He is a problem. But you don't get to this point without a failure of many other individuals and organizations. And that spectacle that we were all forced to sit through, the first of 3, was an embarrassment. It was horrifying for some of the reasons that you said. I mean, the fact that he told his voters to go and intimidate voters. He said that the Proud Boys should stand down, but somebody's got to do something about Antifa. And he said, with the mail-in ballots, he won't go along with it. Every horrifying, authoritarian thing that he could have said, he did say. And the whole time I just sat there thinking Biden is doing his best, I guess. He did have a couple of good lines. I liked when he reassured people that it is the vote that determines who wins, and not, as Chris Wallace kept asking Donald Trump, what are you going to do about it? No, it's not up to Trump. He's not the king. And so Biden had some good lines, but and I'm not gonna focus on this, but the whole time, I and probably a lot of other people were thinking, what if it was Bernie Sanders that was standing on the debate stage debating him right then? I think it would have been a very different thing. Biden was doing his best, but in the face of that sheer insanity, it wasn't really good enough. It just wasn't. And so I'm extremely worried about what the next period is going to be like. Literally everything Trump could have said to scare me about the future of American democracy he did, up to and including, by the way, that he once again confirmed that no matter what the science shows, he's going to say that a vaccine is available the week before the election. Just mark that on your calendar. Doesn't matter if it's available or if anybody will be able to have it. He's 100% gonna say that it's available. He was very clear that he's expecting the Supreme Court to step in and stop the mail-in ballot counting. Every part of this, like the whole thing has been spoiled. We already know the entire plot of this movie. Now we just have to sit through it and hope that all of the people who either the law or norms have given some role in influencing the outcome will do what's necessary to stop Donald Trump from stealing this thing.
Okay, so look, one of the things that I'm worried about with Joe Biden is that Trump accidentally did something right. He got Biden to disown big portions of the left. He got him to defend police in this country. He got him to say he's against the Green New Deal. He further hardened his position against Medicare for all. But it really what Trump was doing was he was attacking him as if he's Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. So he attacked him as a socialist and all the different talking points he had ready for Bernie. And then he had the problematic things that Joe Biden has said in the past, like super predators. So when the pundits said, oh, if you nominate Biden, then Trump and the Republicans won't be able to call them socialists. It's not true. He called them a socialist all night long. And so I wish that Biden had a better answer for that. I want to give a dissenting point of view here from one of our members, because we really do this show together. Jessica wrote in, I'm surprised really how much you're attacking Biden. Biden looked calm, intelligent, and decent. Trump looked like a kindergarten bully. I'm not a huge Biden fan, but I thought he did very well. Jessica.
I know, but Jessica, we're a country of bullies. We're a country of bullies. We're a country of bullies. The electorate is full of bullies. Let's just keep it real. So when Trump comes after him aggressively like that, and Biden doesn't have an answer, when Trump says, okay, which whatever police group has endorsed you or supports you, and Biden is like fumbling and mumbling, that hurts him. It just does. It's just the truth.
No,
anyway,
I hear you, Anna, but look, we're gonna find out who this country is and what this country is in about a month.
I think we know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know this.
Wait, actually, Cenk, really fast.
You know,
I will say,
I don't.
With all that I just said about the state of American democracy and everything, I don't necessarily think that this debate is going to really hurt Joe Biden. That's not what my response is about. I think Joe Biden did basically what he wanted to do. He looked responsible and adult, he looked at all of that. And I think that seems to have had a pretty good effect for him so far in the election. But I don't think that this is gonna fundamentally change the polls, but again, the polls aren't necessarily what's going to determine the final outcome, which is why I'm focusing on those other things.
No, look, guys, Donald Trump assumes that the country's deeply racist, that if he disowns white supremacists, that he'll lose the election. I don't agree. I don't think I think that there's far too many racists in the country. Of course, we pointed out, we battle against that every day. But do I think 51% of this country is deeply racist and white supremacist and cheers Donald Trump on? No, I don't think that. I think this country is better than that, and I have polling to prove it. But there's only one thing that's going to prove it definitively, and that's November 3rd. We're going to find out what America is, and I don't think they're going to go in Trump's direction. And I am encouraged by Jessica's reaction, because to me the most important thing is people who are not big fans of Biden and who are undecided about Trump or Biden. They're the most important folks who watch this debate. And if they came away thinking, or a significant enough percentage of them came away thinking Biden looked like a professional and Trump looked like a bully and a child, well, that's good news. And I hope that Jessica is right about that. And I think there's a good chance she is.
We do have the first poll, CBS News poll.
Can we get?
Sure. I think that would be great. Who do you think won, and by what rough margin?
My guess is they're going to say that Joe Biden won by 5 points, 6 points, 6 points.
What do we all think?
I think it's going to say that Biden won big.
Big is more than 10?
No idea.
More than 10.
And Anna, you just can't, you don't know. It could go either way.
I just want to know what the poll says.
Well,
yeah, I just want to give Michael the win because this has Biden at 48%, Trump at 41%, CBS News poll. So 7 points for Biden, which is basically the national poll difference.
Okay. No, yeah, that's right. So Michael, that's why we call him Epic Politics Man. nice
you
job.
Did say big, by the way. I was one off and you said big, so I think that's pretty big when you consider how divided the country is actually. So
yeah, and I think the reason I guess that Biden won big, even though I told you right in the beginning that you could argue that it was a tie, is because I think the analysis that we have heard our whole lives, that being rude does hurt someone, and Trump was nuclear level rude. I mean, we've literally never seen anything like that in a debate, and it turns out that, thank God, a majority of Americans, or at least a plurality of Americans, were turned off by it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.